remember about Richard is related to by my mother and others is that when he was a young child, I think it was he and Allie who were messing around by the kitchen stove or something, and they got into a little trouble. Richard actually had an arm that got burned pretty badly in that incident. And my mother says that he never ever, even working in the farm life and farm and ranch life, ever wore anything but long sleeve shirts because he wanted to make sure that he covered up his scars. And he could have also gotten out of the Army because of those injuries, but he chose to go ahead and serve. So let me read a little bit more about Richard. Richard Ray Bertram was born in Colome, South Dakota to a large family. Entered the service June 20th, 1944 as a private. Received basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Then sent overseas and served with the infantry for 3.5 months. Okay, some of that you know. Richard was attached to the 382nd Infantry Regiment. That was a reserve regiment that was called into service in 1942, the second year that the U.S. was in the war effort. And they were part of a bigger division called the 96th Infantry Division. They had two major battles. One was at Leyte, Philippines. It was the battle that basically took the Philippines and Manila back from the Japanese after MacArthur had left them. If you know your World War II history, I'm sorry I'm a geek, so this is probably foreign to you, but very interesting to me. So that was the battle that basically took the Philippines back. Then that division, along with the 382nd, headed north to Okinawa. Okinawa was invaded by the Allied forces on April 1st. Very little resistance in landing on Okinawa, fierce resistance, and essentially the worst battle and the worst prolonged battle, about 50 days in the entire war, was on the Battle of Okinawa. The 10th day into that battle, Uncle Richard was killed, died of his wounds the very same day, was buried at sea. Why was he buried at sea? He was an infantryman. Most likely he was evacuated to a hospital ship. And just due to the logistics and the lack of space and things like that, a lot of men were buried at sea, whether they were Navy or not. So he died on my mother's, on Maxine's 14th birthday. There's a letter here that Ray Jean just gave me, so let me read that and then we'll move on to the next family. Richard Bertram wrote this letter to his folks, Frank F. Bertram, telling them the nice visit he had with his brother Alan. Had been overseas for 15 months and Richard had been across about 1 month. They met somewhere in Hawaii. Dear folks, this is Richard writing to his folks. Just a few lines to let you know that I'm okay. We aren't doing much as yet. Alan has been up to see me twice since I've been here. I would like to get a pass. I'd take an airplane ride and go up to see him. It doesn't cost anything. My buddies say we look just like brothers. Oh, that's mad. Only I'm fleshier than he is. Well, if you've seen some wartime pictures of Alan, that's not too hard to be a little fleshier than Alan. There's some recent ones circulating around that we discovered, but I don't think Richard was overweight either, so I'm a little fleshier than he is. He looks like the same old Allie to me. We talked over old times and the fun that we used to have and so on. If I could get a pass and see Dale Bowers, my cousin, Allie has seen him already. It's not like Allie kind of got around over there in the Pacific, so it helps to be a captain or whatever his rank was, I guess. So the way Allie and I got together was, I wrote Allie a letter and put Inner Islands on it. That's the only address he put on it other than Allie's name, apparently. He received the letter in a day and so on, and came right over in an airplane. I was sitting on my bed thinking how close I am to Al and can't even get a pass up to see him. Just then the door slammed and I looked up, and there was a sergeant with an Air Corps insignia on him. Gee, I was tickled. He thought I had really grown up. My buddy really thought we were lucky, I should say. Well, there isn't much more to write, so we'll close. When you get time, drop me a line and tell me how things are going or coming back home. I'm doing okay. Hope you are too. Love, Richard. So I don't know if that was the last communication by letter that Richard had with the family, but certainly the meeting with Alan was the last time anybody from our family saw Richard. So that's Richard Ray Bertram's bio. And